Hello super friends and welcome to DC TV Talk. This is the show where we talk all things Supergirl, The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, Arrow and Black Lightning, and in today's video we'll be discussing which villains is Oliver going to be facing while facing prison time inside of Slabside Maximum Security Prison. So let's discuss. Now, of course, as you all know, at the end of Arrow Season 6, we saw Oliver arrested and handing himself over to the FBI for being the Green Arrow, and he was sent to Maximum Security Prison known as Slabside. And based on rumours and also based on the synopsis we got for Arrow Season 7 going into Comic-Con, we have found out that Oliver is going to be facing many of his old enemies while in prison, and they could be helping him or maybe not. We'll have to see how that plays out. But what I want to do in this video is discuss who those villains are going to be. Now, a big shout out to my buddy Seth. He is a big fan of mine and also just a big loyal follower. I absolutely love you. He really helped me out with this video, so make sure you give him a hand because he is an awesome guy and he really was a big helping hand for this video. So thank you so much. You're the best, and let's jump into this video. And also, just a quick thing to mention before we jump in as well, some of these characters are most likely going to be locked up in Iron Heights, at least that's where they were locked up, but let's just say for the sake of this video that they were transferred to Slabside at some point in time, because Slabside is a prison which has never really been mentioned before in Arrow. It has a couple times, but not really. It's never really had a focus, and as far as we know, none of these villains have ever been in Slabside, and none of the villains that Oliver has ever locked up has been in Slabside, so let's just say and stretch the imagination a little bit and say that these characters, even though they were locked up in Iron Heights, were actually sent to Slabside at some point in their prison sentence, just to make this video a bit easier. Also, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more content like this, be sure to head to my podcast channel, which is called Honor Thy Podcast. It is a weekly DC TV Arrowverse podcast I do with my good friend Dan McCann's Mule Kick Media, so if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more of me, be sure to head down to that link in the description down below. Right, with all that out of the way, let's jump into the video. So, the first character I want to discuss is Danny Brickwell, aka Brick. Now, this is the one who I feel is the most obvious choice. I feel like Danny Brickwell is very likely to come back in this situation just because of his connection in the comics. Now, if you don't know, Danny Brickwell was actually a character who was a member of the Longbow Hunters in the comics. The Longbow Hunters in the comics was Ricardo Diaz, Red Dart, Killer Moth, and Danny Brickwell. They were the members of the Longbow Hunters in the comics, and personally, I don't think Danny Brickwell will be a member of the Longbow Hunters. I don't think he'll even be connected to them. I feel like the Longbow Hunters is going to go in a very different direction for the show. However, just having the Longbow Hunters in the show in Season 7, as we know they are going to be there, and also having Danny Brickwell return, it's just something that fits well in my mind and just something I could definitely see them doing for just to have that connection to the comics. And I think that Danny Brickwell was a really, quite a fun character on the show, so it'd be quite interesting to see him brought back and to see how he'd interact with Oliver. So I feel like that'd be a really awesome character to bring back, and also having Vinnie Jones on the show is always a treat. Next up, we have China White. Now, China White was the leader of the Triad. She was that really badass female martial artist with the white hair. She was a really cool character, especially in the early seasons of Arrow, Season 1, Season 2. She was really cool. I'd love to see her come back, especially because she fought the Green Arrow and the Hood many times throughout the history of Arrow, She was in, like I said, she fought the Hood in Season 1, she fought the Arrow in Season 2, Season 3. And then she fought the Green Arrow in Season 5. It'd be really cool for her to find out that all of these, adversaries are the same person. It was Oliver Queen the entire time, and it would have an interesting dynamic, and I think there'd be a really cool conversation to have there between the two, and I'd love to see that happen. Now, obviously, I'm pretty sure everyone knows the Hood, the Arrow, the Green Arrow, they're all the same person anyway. I mean, everyone does know that now anyway. Oliver said that, but I think it'd be really cool just to have that dynamic kind of exposed a little bit, and because this would be a really awesome perspective from the villains to know that this guy who put them away was actually Oliver Queen. And it'd just be really cool to see that dynamic. And I think China White is such a badass character. She's so awesome. I'd love to see her come back in some way, shape, or form. And if this involves her, then this is the perfect way to bring her back. Another character I'd love to see come back here is the Clock King. Now, the Clock King is a very silly villain from Batman the Animated Series, so when he was coming to Arrow, I was very scared. But he was in Arrow Season 2, he was also in The Flash, and he's just a really interesting villain on the show. He is a bank robber who basically is extremely meticulous with time. He basically needs everything done to a particular millisecond to make sure everything plans out the way he has it planned out to. And the reason I think this character could come back is because if Oliver is going to be escaping from prison, is going to be doing a prison break type thing, which is heavily rumoured, and it seems extremely likely at this point, then you're going to need someone to kind of plan everything out and to have everything timed out to perfection. And who's the best person for that in the Arrowverse? Well, the Clock King is. That's what he specializes in. That's what he does. So I feel like Oliver is going to need someone like that if he's going to break out of prison. And that means that if the Clock King's there and the Clock King's available to use, then yeah, go for it. He's going to be the perfect person to do that with. And obviously if Oliver makes him a deal where he says, you know, you help me and I'll get you out of here, of course he's going to be up for that. So I feel like it'd be a really awesome way to bring the Clock King back in, and especially make him a relevant member of this perhaps new team that Oliver's going to be forming while in prison. And I feel like it'd be awesome just to have that idea, to have like this team of villains. They obviously all have their own specialties, like Danny Brickwell could be the muscle, and, you know, China White could be, you know, a bit more of the martial arts specialist. Oliver is obviously the leader, but you need kind of the, you know, almost like the guy in the chair, you know what I mean? And I feel like Clock King could fill that role, and I feel like this would be a great way to bring him back. I'm really excited by that idea. And finally, this is the one I really want to see. Huntress. Huntress, this is the perfect opportunity. Now, the writers have expressed so much interest in having Jessica DeGao return to the show to play Helena Bertinelli, and I love the Huntress. I think she's so good. You know, she's kind of the, alongside Sarah, she's kind of the female version of Oliver on the show. And I thought she was such a good character. Her kind of conflict inside and the way her relationship with Oliver developed over the show was so good. Now, she is currently locked up in Iron Heights, but again, you can twist that. Huntress is the perfect kind of companion piece to the Green Arrow, like the Black Canary is. I think like it's a really awesome character to have alongside. And again, this is the perfect way to bring her back, especially because her and Oliver, they're not exactly at odds. I mean, they have been, but, you know, I'm pretty sure they could put all that aside and just kind of move on. I feel like they're the type of characters who would just move on after a certain point in time. And this would be the perfect way to bring her back, especially because Oliver is going to need, again, that kind of companion who he really does trust. And I feel like he would trust Helena Bertinelli in this situation, and she would trust him. And I feel like it'd be a really awesome dynamic for those two to come back together for this particular prison escape and get out together. And perhaps this could be a cool way to bring Huntress onto the show. Now, I'm pretty sure Jessica DeGao is pretty busy on another show, so maybe this wouldn't happen. But even if it is just this small little arc where she comes back for this prison storyline and then is gone afterwards, I think that'd be fine. And I'd love to see that happen. So if you're listening, writers, this is the perfect way. You know, you've said you've wanted this, so get Jessica DeGao back on the show because this is the best way to do it. Go. But who do you guys think Oliver is going to be facing while locked up in Slabside? Tell me all your thoughts in the comment section down below. Any other characters who you think could show up? Other characters I've seen mentioned and thrown around has been Cupid. Please no. Murmur has been thrown around. The Dodger. There's been a couple other characters as well who have been thrown around as to who Oliver could be facing. I've even seen a thing for Joe Wilson, although that's not going to happen just because Joe Wilson is not locked up as far as we remember. As far as we know, he's not locked up. He, you know, was fine. So I don't really see why that would happen. But besides that, there is a lot of characters who Oliver could face, and I feel like some of the ones I've mentioned are really cool ones, and especially because if Oliver's trying to form a team of villains to kind of escape with, this would be a really cool dynamic. You know, he has to get a different member for a different role. Like I said, Brick would be the muscle, Clock King would be, you know, the behind the scenes kind of guy. It'd just be a really awesome way and awesome dynamic I'd love to see come into the show. So make sure you let me know all your thoughts. Who do you think Oliver is going to be facing in Slabside? So thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like. It will help me out a lot. And share this video with anyone and everyone you know who loves DC TV and get them to join the community. And as always, guys, please subscribe for all of your latest content on Supergirl, The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, Arrow, and Black Lightning. And with all that said, guys, I hope to see you again in my next video.